When she writes, she zones out. She's not here in front of the computer or at the writing table. She is in the story with her characters. She needs to know how they feel, how they react, create them and exist in different world of fiction. That's how our today's author writing world looks like. I will talk about a bit more of today's author when she is there in the live chat room. A warm welcome to all the viewers of People's Voice Season 3 third episode. I hope you all are doing well and enjoying watching People's Voice Season 3 and interacting with authors, writer, learning something new about writing. I am getting good comments from the authors that I am bringing for you all. But if you know any authors who have lots of stories to tell to our audience, to aspiring writer, feel free to DM me. I will try my best to accommodate if I can in this season. If not, I am planning something for authors and writers. Let the season gets over, then I'll come back with more details. So let's chat a bit with all of you before I invite the guest because she is not here. No, just now she logged in. Hi Naeem. Hi Ritu, I'm just sending you an invite to join the video chat. Hi Omar, how you all doing? And before I invite her, if you have any questions related to writing or you want to ask anything to our today's author Rituparna Jain, feel free to write in the chat box. I'll try to take your question looking at the time and let's see if she is today, I'm really looking forward for this amazing, fabulous writer to talk with, to know more about her book, which has a lovely title, Unloved in Love. So yes, she is here. Hi, Ritu. How are you doing?
How are you?
I'm doing very well. How about you?
I'm doing good too.
How's weather in UK?
Weather's not too bad today. It stopped raining finally after like weeks and weeks, and today it's sunny, so I'm quite chuffed about it.
Nice to hear that. In Kuwait, it's lovely weather. And talking to you all wonderful authors, it just makes my day.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Ritu, we are on time, so let's dive into our conversation, the real conversation. But before that, let me just quickly give a brief introduction about you to all our viewers. All right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Ritu Parna Jain,
Ghosh.
transformational
Sorry,
coach.
Nasima, it's Ghosh. Rituparna Ghosh.
Rituparna Ghosh, see? That's okay. Rituparna Ghosh, a transformational life coach and a romance writer. She has debuted as an author with the Unloved in Love book published by last year by publisher Readomania. It's a fiction book, though not just a love story. Currently, she is residing in the UK. She holds a novel writing diploma from the London School of Journalism. She studied to be a coach and works with the women who want to stay true to themselves and break free from social obligations. Such a wonderful work to do, Rituparna. A warm welcome to People's Voice Season 3.
Thank you so much, Nasima, and I'm really honored to be here. I've been following your season. I have from last two episodes, and I think they're the brilliant work that you're doing. I really loved, especially Mohammed Izra's talk yesterday. So really good job on this season.
Thank you. My pleasure, Ritu. Ritu, at the onset, I want to know, as I mentioned in my introduction, you have done novel writing diploma from London School of Journalism.
Yes.
How much studying writing actually helps in real writing world?
So I guess you I mean, I'm a firm believer of the fact that, everybody has a book inside them, and the idea always germinates in your head. When you want to write, you see an idea or you feel an idea. It starts in your head, but how much and or how little to put down on paper, that's what where studying a course like this helps. Because sometimes, and it happened with me, like when I started writing, I didn't know how much to put down. So sometimes it became like really big and really pedantic and very, very like nitpicky things. And sometimes, half of it would be in my head and half of it would be outside in the paper where people can't make sense of it at all. So I guess where this school helped me was to kind of put a structure to my writing, if that makes sense. Like, I now could recognize, this has to be beginning. So in the beginning, you draw the reader slowly, and then you have a middle where you hold their attention, and then you have your end where, your readers would have this feeling of enjoying a very good book. You know how to develop characters, you know how much of the character should reader know, so that reader can recognize or identify with the character. But you should not force the reader to kind of think for the character, or to show tell them how to think. So you have to kind of draw their attention. So this is where I think London School of Journalism helped me a lot. For So I think studying writing can be a good thing if you are planning to write a novel or write professionally, because that gives you like a baseline of where to start your story from.
Okay. All right. And you have rightly said that everyone have a story to tell, and the education helps you to put it down in a way which is more readable, which is presentable, and attract our audience to read it. So
Absolutely,
that's how the education helped you.
that's right.
Ritu, I read about you in your bio. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can.
Yeah. Ritu, I read in your bio that you are a transformational life coach and the author of your latest book, Unloved in Love. How you manage these two roles, like how this role goes hand in hand, because I feel that it's the role which are poles apart, if I'm not wrong.
To be honest, actually, this is a struggle that I've myself thought about it. And when I started this journey, even I used to think in my head that, what, there is a life coach, which is like a little serious. I mean, and then there is Unloved in Love, writing, which is also in a different level of serious. When I write,
True.
I kind of go completely in flow. Like I'm not there in present. I'm actually with my character in my story. And when I am coaching, I have to be present with the client and be part of their story. But then I realized that actually I am part of a story, be it my own or be it my client. So for me, what is more important is I am part of that story. I'm gaining an experience, and that's where the connection started. So I love that feeling of creating something, and I love that feeling of helping somebody. So both of these stories, or both of this like passion of mine, kind of combines into my two profession. And ultimately there's me, right? So even in my coaching, I bring a uniqueness of narrative. So my style of coaching is more narrative style coaching, where we have conversations instead of a pure mentoring coaching session. So, and when I write, I use life experiences that I draw sometimes for my coaching, or when I read something about my coaching. So I use the life experience and substance and draw inspiration for my writing. So that's how the two matches.
Uh-huh. Ritu, when you're talking, I really feel that I'm listening to a audio book. The couple of sentences which you use in between, I felt that you just grab it from your book and say it. It's really lovely to talk to authors because it's like they are walkie-talkie books. I'm sure
I
that's why it's interesting to read your books. Sorry?
I said I'm hoping that like I make a lot of my whole vocation is my voice. So I'm hoping that people
I think we have
okay.
lost
Hi, can you hear me? Perfect.
There was some internet connection problem. I'm not sure from which side. But yes, we were talking about the way even you conversing, it sounds like I'm listening to an audiobook. And I think that's the charm of authors, and that's why they are called authors.
Thank you so much.
The Ritu, from the beginning onwards, we're talking about Unloved in Love book. So let's talk specifically about Unloved in Love book.
This
Talk
is
a
the
bit
book.
about viewers. You can see the book, the cover page. It's so enticing. Hopefully, after the season gets over, every author's at least one book I'll try to read.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, let's get back to Unloved in Love. Talk a bit about the process, how you began writing this book, what all stages you have gone through, how the final product you eventually got. Just talk everything about Unloved in Love.
So I think the idea kind of was in my head always. I always wanted to write a story which was a story about its characters, and I didn't want it to be like a normal romance where girl meet boy and then therefore love happens and then there are circumstances and then happily ever after. So I was always in my head that I want to write a different love story. And to be honest, when I wrote the book, the first draft of the book was done in flat 6 months, and I was very very happy with myself that, oh my god, I've written a book in 6 months, and this is so great and stuff. And then I sent it to a few of my friends to read. And while everybody liked the story, while everybody liked the premise of the book, but the writing needed a lot of work, and the characters were not developed. There was like a lot of feedback, a lot of constructive feedback, and I was very, like, to be honest, a little disappointed because I thought this is done, and so I said, okay, you know what? Let me rethink. So then I sat down with the second draft. The second draft happened where I changed the narrative. Instead of being it first person by one person, I made it into first person by three people. So all three
Okay,
of the characters in the book have a first person narrative here. So
okay,
at that, I wrote the story, but then it didn't kind of sync with me much. So I left it. Then I came back. I wrote the third draft. By the time the book actually was okayed for publishing and it was sent for publishing, I had written 13 drafts of
my
Unloved
God.
Nita. So every 15 days I would kind of let go of the book, and this really helps when you're trying to write a novel because you're so engrossed in the novel that you're not able to like visualize things, or you're not able to understand how things could be different. So what I would do
Uh-huh.
every 15 days is I would kind of let it go. I would sit away from it, write something else for about a week or so, and then I'd go back and read the book. I kept reading it, writing it till as a reader myself, and I read a lot of books as well. So I'm a very avid reader. So till I could personally be very satisfied with the book, and I could recommend it to other people, saying, this is a okay book. This will do okay. So that's when I sent it out to the publishers, and thankfully they liked it. So it was published by Readomania, and I think the entire process from sending the manuscript to about publishing took about 2 months. Um,
Okay,
and thankfully the discussions, and like, because I had already worked on so many drafts, I was like, I imbibed the characters within me. So the discussions with the editors were thankfully very peaceful, and my editor was a darling, so he didn't have too many changes, minor grammatical here and there, and some bit of plot
okay.
lines. Yeah, it in totality, I think it took about 2 years to finally. So for someone who was very happy that in 6 months she's written the book, it actually took me completely 2 months to be satisfied with it enough to publish it.
It's like you're living whatever books you are writing. If it is taking years, even Claudia, our first guest, she was also saying that it's not months, it takes years, and you started living that life.
True, true. And a very interesting anecdote, actually. So, like I said, this book is from a first person voice of three characters. And each day I would be like trying to understand how this character would react to a certain situation. So my partner would come down in the morning and say, which character are you today? How will you react to this particular situation now? So yeah, she was absolutely true when she said that you actually start to live your characters.
So in every book, I feel that authors have something of themselves in that book. Like it's giving you a small part of your life from yourself to the book.
True,
So
true.
that's really surprising to hear that from this author. This is something I have learned in last 3 days. But it's a task. Giving
Yeah,
years and years for just a book, it's a task. And
absolutely.
that's why there is this quote called authors. They are the authors.
Thank you.
Ritu, I heard writing fiction books. It's tougher than writing real life stories. And you are writing fiction books. So, from where you drive inspiration to make it work?
So actually, fiction is nothing but real life story said in an imaginary way. So when we write stories, we don't write or we don't create characters which do not exist. We create characters which would definitely look like somebody, or some of them is of course imagination. Some of this are layers that we add on as authors, but it would obviously germinate from certain situation or certain words that like that stick by you. Like I yesterday the author who would come with you, he said that they were in the mountain, and he just had this word about noodles, and then that clicked. So for example, the story that I wrote for a romantic book, the Readomania Book of Romance, the short story that I wrote there, I was reading a Persian story about meeting with death in Samara. So there's a story where a merchant meets death in a market in Baghdad and runs off to Samara to escape, and then finally ends up meeting death there. So the Samara and death kind of stuck with me, and somehow it just created into a story of romance where I talked about a child who was no longer alive. So I'm saying inspiration can come anywhere. You observe people, you travel in a bus, you sit in a cafe, and you see people going by. And I've always done this and I used to travel a lot in my corporate role. When I was in research, I used to travel a lot, and one of my favorite pastime was to sit in a cafe and just watch the world go by. You draw so
Uh-huh.
much out of that.
So you mean the fiction story is also a part of real world. It's not like completely you're imagining. It's
Yeah,
you're driving inspiration from your day-to-day life, day-to-day experiences, people you're interacting, watching, right? That's your
absolutely.
inspiration.
Absolutely. There is, of course, the fantasy fiction, but then even in fantasy fiction, like for example, if you take Harry Potter, the whole
Hmm.
concept of Voldemort and his pure bloodedness, we can compare
Hmm.
it with something that happened in Germany in the 1940s, right? So the whole, like I said, you can give it your own twist, you can create your own imaginary layers out of it, but the essence of the story would somehow have a root in the real world.
True, true. It's like a movie. They do take inspiration or some incidents from the real world and add to it. It's not the complete like biography, but they do have element of real life.
Right.
True. Ritu, this is something, the next question is something I really want to know for myself because I've started writing blog and I want to go a step further in my writing. So mostly I'm going to ask this question to all my authors. How your writing schedule is, how do you plan to write? Is there a pattern or is there a schedule you have made it or it just randomly you sit anywhere you write anything? How it is, how it works for you?
So I don't have. So for me, I realize that whenever I have planned, I've always failed, because something or the other always comes. Like I can never make myself sit and say, I have to write now and I have to write the story. So I can never make myself sit and write. So what I work is that whenever an idea strikes me, and if I have the time, I write, and I have written like for hours together. Like I think I've maximum written for 10 hours, 12 hours together, and I've written for as short as 30 minutes so whenever I feel like I get this, I know something inside me kind of wants to come out or wants to say something. So whenever I get this urge to write, I just find some time, and even if it's not on the laptop, scribbling on my diary for a bit, I do that. One thing also I want to say is I noticed that writing a journal helps. So if you're a journal writer, if you write your journal, then you have a slotted time for your journal. And in that, sometimes I scribble my ideas in that journal saying, this is what I was thinking about. And maybe later, whenever something comes up, like a task comes up, maybe writing for a series or something, I go back there and then pick out an idea from there. So no planning as such. I'm sorry.
No worries, no worries. My viewers may not know that because I have not mentioned in this description. But when I went through your website, I got to know that someone writes poem as well. It's not only the fiction books and the blogs, but she also writes beautiful poem. And before we talk further about it, let me just read two lines from the poem that is there. It's a long poem on the website which I can't read in such a short time, but let me just read two lines, and it goes like, personally, I am a professional. I want recognition. I'm not senior enough. I shouldn't complain. No one else will hire me. Personally, I feel poem is altogether different ball game than writing a book. How can you do it? And how can you do it so beautifully?
Thank you so much. You're too kind. Uh, Actually, for me, it's the other way. For me, poems are my pure expression. Like when I write a novel, right? It's not just, like I said, it's not just putting my idea on a paper. It's more of trying to create the idea so that it's readable, so that the readers, when they read it, they understand it. They are privy to your own head, like an author's head, to understand how the idea developed, what is the story, and what are the characters like. But poem is just like it's a, how do I say, it's my selfish vice, which I only write for myself, like write to express whatever I'm feeling at that point of time. So the poem that you read, Not Enough, was something when I was trying to figure out what is it in that I can help women with. What is it, how the women are somehow bound by social obligations, right? Because a lot is expected from us. This is you are a woman, you're not supposed to, you're supposed to be doubly well in your profession because you have extra point to prove. You're supposed to be a certain way when you're a child, you're supposed to be a certain way when you grow up, you're supposed to have babies when you get married. So it's all like very supposed to. So that time I think I was in a mind where I was trying to kind of come up with a reason why we need to break out of this supposed to social obligations that people put us on. And so this is how it came. So all my poems have come out like that, like when I'm like really feeling that angst of a particular situation or a time, it just comes out. So I guess that's it.
Ritu, I would love to go on talking with you, but time doesn't allow us to go further and talk more about poems and your writing work. But before we say goodbye to our viewers, would you like to share anything with our audience? Perhaps something from your writing collection, if you want to say one or two lines quickly.
I wanted to read something from my book Unloved and Loved. So we spent our entire childhood waiting to grow up. Every time our parents made us do something annoying or didn't let us stay up, our conversation would invariably turn to our dreams and plans of when we grow up. But what no one told us was that along with making the choices that we needed to be accountable for them. After growing up, on precipice of making the important decisions, we will be alone. That growing up involved confrontation and standing up for what you believed in, and that your actions and words often have unpleasant consequences. And each time you fought to get some semblance of normalcy, things just spiraled out of control. And all you wanted to do was run back home and be a child again, ready to leave the decision making to the adults. But unfortunately, adulting has no holidays. You must be on duty 24/7, 365 days a year.
Lovely, lovely. I can't wait to start reading Unloved in Love. Thank you
Thank you.
so much, Ritu. It was our pleasure. It's my pleasure to have you on People's Voice Season 3. It's a lovely chat.
It's an absolute honor to be here, Nasima. Thank you so much for calling me, and thank you all the viewers for joining us and being a part of this session. Any questions that you have, please reach out to Nasima. She can pass it on to me or leave a comment, and I can respond to them later. And please feel
Definitely.
free to reach out and connect if you want.
Thank
Thank
you
you so much,
so much,
Nasima.
Ritu. Take care. Have a lovely evening.
You too. Stay safe. Bye.
You too. Take care. Bye bye. So that was a lovely conversation with author Rituparna Ghosh. I enjoyed that session thoroughly. Before I sign off, I just want to tell all the aspiring writers, authors out there, you don't have to write only to publish a book or to have an impact on your audience. Sometimes just have to write for yourself, just to have that sense of happiness, perhaps a sense of accomplishment. So, dear aspiring writers, just pick up the pen and the paper and start writing. With that, signing off, Nasima Khan, People's Voice. Take care, stay safe.